storytelling has changed. It's no longer about plot, characters, or themes. It's an endless series of one-upmanship. No fancy intro. This series doesn't deserve it. Hey guys, it's your local degenerate, back for my second bi-yearly public therapy session. Today is about my unprocessed childhood trauma. Oh yeah, I cut my hair. I only kept it long for one joke in my addiction video. Go watch it, it took me a year to make. Also, I got tired of stepping in this every morning. Most of you probably have no idea what the Earth Children series is. Unfortunately, I do know what it is. It's a prehistoric fictional book series by Gene them all. I absolutely despise these books. This series is like Game of Thrones, the TV show. I read this series when I was 13. I should not have read this when I was 13. Content warning. I wasn't joking when I said this series is similar to Game of Thrones. It has a lot of violence, a lot of mature topics, and a lot of adult fun time scenes. Some of them are non-consensual. Now, if I was a professional reviewer, I would reread every book. But to be honest, I don't want to torture myself like that again. So I'm just going off memory and plot summaries. Our story begins with 5-year-old Ayla. An earthquake kills her parents, she's almost eaten by a cave lion, and she's dying from starvation. Great start. A clan of Neanderthals looking for a new home finds Ayla. They are reluctant to help at first because she's an other, but take her in anyways. She's nursed back to health by Isa, and later adopted by her and Isa's brother Kreb. Let's start with some positives. All is very detailed in her descriptions. She makes it easy to visualize character actions and the environment. Put a pin on this though, cause this will be important later. The nature versus nurture premise of the story is very compelling. Ayla is raised by a different species of humans. She can't fit the model clan woman mold because of her different biology. The clan's culture is also interesting. They have a complex religion and social structure. Communication is mostly sign language, which means lying as a concept doesn't exist. The rest of the book is about Ayla's life in the clan as she grows into a young adult. Isa trains her to be a medicine woman, she learns how to be self-sufficient, she invents feminism by hunting with the men. Life is good. Well, there is one person who hates her. The cartoonishly evil Browd, the clan leader's son. He hates Ayla because she's so talented and steals all the attention for herself. To establish his dominance, Browd forces himself on Ayla. Remember when I said all gives detailed descriptions? She is thorough in explaining what happens and the aftermath of said actions. I'm not qualified to comment on this, so all I'll say is it was extremely disturbing to read through as a 13-year-old. After that section of the book, nothing too important happens until Browd becomes the new clan leader. He banishes Ayla almost immediately. The book ends how it began, with Ayla alone. As first books go, it's a decent start. The characters are all good, for the most part, and it sets up a fascinating world for Ayla to explore. I wonder what all will improve in the next book. This is the best book in the series. Like, it's not even an argument, it's just everything is just worse than this. Remember all the clan members you grew attached to in book 1? Well, you can forget about all of them, they never return. Valley of Horses is split into 2 perspectives, but we'll begin with Ayla's side. After losing everything she's ever known again, Ayla is in search of the others. Winter is coming, so she decides to hole up in a valley until spring, but ends up staying there for 3 years. This is where a major issue appears, and it never goes away. Ayla invents everything. In this book alone, domestication, flint fire starters, the calendar, the travois. The problem isn't that she's inventing a bunch of stuff. No. The problem is that she's the only one inventing new stuff. For the rest of the series, nobody else in the world is smart enough to invent, or have already discovered one of Ayla's inventions. I like her story for the most part though. It's a fun little survival story. Now for the second perspective, we have a new character. Jondalar is the douchebag frat boy who secretly has a heart of gold. Except he stole the gold from dying orphans. Then, he tracked down each of their parents just to sleep with their moms. And I'm only half kidding when I say he would sleep with all their moms. I hate Jondalar so much. He's an awful human being who everyone in the story treats as the third coming of Jesus. Who's the second coming of Jesus? Well, it's Ayla, of course, but that doesn't start happening until the next book. Jondalar and his half-brother Thanalan are traveling across Europe on a rite of passage called the Great Journey. But mostly it's just them trying to get laid. Valley of Horses is where adult nap times become common. I swear, it feels like every time it goes back to a Jondalar chapter, he starts rolling in the hay with a new girl. Remember when I said all gives detailed descriptions? She makes sure you know how impressive Jondalar's manhood is. I am so sick of reading about Jondalar's large, throbbing manhood. And get used to hearing about Jondalar's manhood because that's the only word they use to describe it. The brothers reach Ayla's valley, and Thanalan is killed by a fully grown baby. Ayla manages to save Jondalar from baby. Once he's recovered, Jondalar decides to thank Ayla by attempting to enter her warm folds. Ayla refuses at first. The two grow closer over time. Jondalar teaches Ayla the language of the others. His prejudice against the clan is challenged, because if animal, then why hot? Eventually, Ayla allows Jondalar to administer her first rites. This is where... Am I really gonna say this? This is where we learn that Ayla's Cave of Wonders is the only one cavernous enough to completely envelop Jondalar's girthy manhood. He then realizes this means that Ayla is his one true love. I swear I'm not making any of this up. The book ends with the new couple leaving the valley and meeting. If Valley of Horses is where pillow play becomes common, Mammoth Hunters is where pillow play becomes the plot. Introducing the competing love interest, Rannick. The triangle starts with Rannick falling for Ayla at first sight. Ayla shares pleasures with Rannick because her clan upbringing taught her to never say no to a man, even though in Valley of Horses, she said she outgrew the clan's restrictions. Remember when I said all gives detailed descriptions? Every action taken while doing the snoo-snoo is excruciatingly described. I was a hormone-filled teenager when I read this, and I got annoyed whenever a boinking scene appeared. The only reason these scenes exist is to waste time. This issue only gets worse with the following books. Jondalar gets jealous because Rannick is stealing his woman, who he's known for like 2 months, and no woman has ever picked someone over Jondalar before. Ayla and Jondalar have a falling out because they won't talk to each other for some reason. Things get spicy though when Ayla discovers she actually has some feelings for Rannick. Ooh. Jondalar thinks Ayla doesn't love him anymore. He gets depression and runs away. Ayla thinks this means Jondalar doesn't love her anymore and agrees to marry Rannick. But Jondalar swoops in at the last second to win Ayla back. Ayla then realizes that she doesn't love Rannick, but in fact loves Jondalar because Jondalar was the first man she met. The two ride off into the sunset on a journey back to Jondalar's home. Oh, and some other stuff happens too. Ayla struggles to fit in with this new society who distrusts her because of her clan upbringing. She challenges the hunters' belief that the clan are animals. She domesticates the first wolf. She becomes a powerful shaman. She invents sewing. Jondalar rescues Ayla from a coma with the power of love. Mammoth Hunters is enjoyably trashy at points, but still terrible. Ayla and Jondalar enter a new area. The flora, fauna, and geography are described. Jondalar and Ayla try to have a baby. They meet a new tribe of people. These people say, "Wow, isn't it weird they have domesticated animals and advanced technology? Clan people are animals, yo." Ayla responds, "Clan people aren't animals. This is how you do technology. I'll fix all your problems." Ayla doesn't want to leave their new friends. Jondalar convinces her to leave. They leave and continue on their journey. This basic formula repeats itself for almost 800 pages. Remember when I said all gives detailed descriptions? She does this for every step in that formula. This is one of the most mind-numbing books I've ever read, only beaten by the 2 books after this one. The book ends with Jondalar and a pregnant Ayla finally arriving at Jondalar's home cave. Plains of Passage is where the series transitions from trashy fun to straight up bad. Shelters of Stone is the story of Ayla adapting to a new society that distrusts her because of her clan upbringing. This would be an interesting premise, if they didn't already do this plotline in Book 3. Thankfully, we don't need to worry about that for too long, because almost everyone immediately loves Ayla. The tedious nature of Plains of Passage returns with a new formula. Ayla, I got another settlement that needs our help. Ayla fixes the problem. Ayla shows them how to use her advanced technology to the minute detail. Ayla reveals how she invented it. We already know because we were there when she created it. Jondalar descends upon Ayla's petals of perfection. That's the entire book. Remember when I said all gives detailed descriptions? Every painfully insignificant detail is given a multi-page explanation that is repeated at least 6 different times. There's only one person who despises Ayla. So the real reason why Jondalar went on the Great Journey was to dump his fiancée Marona without having to confront her. Good old Jondalar. Marona hates Ayla because she's still in love with Jondalar. Marona's biggest attempt to humiliate Ayla was on Ayla and Jondalar's wedding day. She tricks Ayla into wearing white boys' undergarments as her wedding dress. Oh no! Ayla wears it proudly anyway. As she strolls out, everybody is shocked at how beautiful she looks. Yup, Ayla is so pretty, ugly clothes look perfect on her. And she invented wearing white at weddings. Ayla and Jondalar have a daughter who they named John Ayla. She doesn't matter to the plot at all, I just think her name is stupid. Land of Painted Caves is somehow even more unbearably repetitive and boring. Luckily, it's separated into 3 parts, which makes it easier to discuss. In part 1, Ayla visits caves. Every single painting and its history is dryly explained. She leaves and visits another cave. In part 2, a 4-year time skip happens, and Ayla is still visiting caves and looking at paintings! This is 2/3 of the book! There is no plot, nothing happens. Side characters? What are those? They don't matter. The only side character that matters is Lorimar, a disgusting, neglectful father who hates Jondalar and Ayla. He doesn't become relevant until the end of part 3! Character development? What's that? Why have character development when you can recap every story from the previous books? Why have any semblance of pacing when you can be told that Jondalar's eyes are blue for the 40th time? Conflict? Themes? Who needs those when you can read about how exactly Ayla goes to the bathroom every morning? Are you sick of me reminding you that all gives detailed descriptions yet? Because that's what reading this book is like! It's 500 pages of art history, but you can't even see any of the art! The only upside, and I mean only upside, is that Ayla and Jondalar aren't phoning 24/7, because Ayla is too busy looking at cave paintings! Ah! There's a 2-year time skip that accomplishes absolutely nothing. Ayla hallucinates on herbs for 3 days, has a miscarriage, and discovers how babies are made. Yup, you heard me right. Ayla invents the concept of the birds and the bees. Nobody else knew the mechanics behind how babies are born, apparently. She shares this information with everyone. They plan a festival to celebrate this newfound knowledge. As an unintended side effect, Ayla also invents the idea of a patriarchal society and monogamy. So what has Jondalar been doing this whole time? Good old Jondalar. Mr. Ayla is my one true love, mother of my child, the only woman who completes me. He cheats on her with his ex, Marona, for the past 2 years! What the? Why did he cheat on Ayla, you may ask? Obviously, it's because she's too busy studying cave paintings to give John Ayla a sibling. And why only with Marona? when it's an established rule of the world that every woman wants to be with him? Well, obviously, it's because she offered herself up and it was convenient. Good old Jondalar! Oh, and it gets even better. Everyone in the cave knew about it, and they all just collectively decided to not tell Ayla. So Ayla walks in on them doing the deed, and is, understandably, extremely upset. Ayla plans to hurt Jondalar back during the festival's celebratory orgy. Remember Larimar from my rant like 3 minutes ago? Ayla bonks Larimar right in front of Jondalar! The only person who hates Jondalar! And the only other person who hates Ayla, because of course, why wouldn't she? Oh gosh. Jondalar, less understandably, but still understandably upset, beats Larimar to a bloody pulp while they're in the middle of bonking. Because Larimar is, quote, making my baby. Ayla, distraught and traumatized by the whole affair, runs away to kill herself by overdosing on medicine. Jondalar finds Ayla in a coma and brings her back with the power of true love. And I think I need to remind you that this is the second time he's done this. Ayla recovers from a coma. They realize that they both screwed up and that they caused irreversible social change in the cave. But as long as they have each other, they'll be okay. And that's how the series ends! I hate this series so much. The only reason I finished it was because up until book 3, it was somewhat enjoyable. I liked Ayla's story enough to ignore Jondalar. That is until Ayla became the textbook definition of a Mary Sue. So what's the point of this video? What's the moral? There's always a moral. The moral of the story is you are also now cursed with the knowledge that this series exists. You're welcome.